All right, let's dive in. Nonverbal communication. The silent
Mm,
language, the stuff we say without actually saying it, it's all around us, right?
absolutely.
You've sent some really cool stuff, some research articles, real-world examples, even some historical bits, which is, always fun. By the end of this, I think our listeners are going to be like, wow, I can read people now. Like, look at me. I'm like, body language expert.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's like a whole secret conversation that's happening underneath the surface.
Okay, so let's crack this code. I
Mm.
mean, we've all heard the phrase personal space. Like, I don't want to stand too close to you. You don't want to stand too close to me. But I bet there's more to it.
There is. There's a whole science behind it. And anthropologists call it proxemics.
Proxemics.
Yeah, you can think about
Wow.
it as an invisible bubble. We all carry it around us. And what's interesting is that the size of that bubble really depends on culture.
So that's why sometimes, like, I'll be talking to someone and I'll feel like they're a little too close.
Exactly.
Like, I want to step back.
Yeah. For example, in Latin American cultures, people tend to stand closer during conversations than, say, North America.
Oh, that reminds me. I was reading about this diplomat who kept getting closer and closer during negotiations. It turns out, like, he didn't mean anything by it. It was just his culture.
Right.
But the other guy was, like, getting super freaked out.
Yeah, I mean, it can really impact our interactions and, not just social situations. Even think about the discomfort you feel if someone bumps your shopping cart at a grocery store.
Oh, yeah, that's annoying.
Our brain is wired to react to violations of personal space as potential threats.
Wow. So it's not just me being, picky. It's actually like my brain is saying, hey, watch out.
It is your limbic system, which is that emotional center of your brain. It kind of kicks into gear. And that brings us to another fascinating aspect of body language, our feet and legs.
Okay, I got to say, I wouldn't think that like feet and legs would be that important.
Oh, well, they are. They are often the most honest parts of our body, believe it or not.
Okay, I mean, so what can we tell from someone's feet? What should I be looking for?
Well, for instance, if you're talking to someone and their foot starts pointing toward the door, chances are they're subconsciously thinking about making an exit.
So like they're like already halfway out the door before they even realize it.
Exactly. And what about crossing your legs?
I do that all the time.
Well, usually that's a sign of comfort and connection. And people tend to subtly angle their crossed legs towards the person that they like or feel comfortable with. But there's a caveat to that.
Oh.
Yeah, if someone suddenly uncrosses their legs and plants their feet firmly on the ground, it can be a sign that they're feeling tense or even threatened.
So it's like they're getting ready to like run or something.
Yeah, like ready for action.
Oh,
And let's not forget walking pace. Notice how you naturally adjust your pace to match the person you're walking with.
I guess so.
But when you're with someone of higher status, studies have shown that people instinctively slow down or speed up to match the pace of someone they perceive as more powerful.
Huh. It's like we're constantly trying to like adjust and fit in even without realizing it. Okay, so we've tackled feet. Let's move on to a body part with a little bit more of a, reputation, the hips.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows that they play a role in attraction, but what else can they tell us?
Well, while Shakira may have said hips don't lie, when it comes to attraction,
Hips don't lie.
yeah, they can signal a whole range of emotions.
Really?
Yeah, think about how someone might shift or swivel their hips in a chair if they're feeling uncomfortable or impatient during a conversation.
Oh, I do that all the time, especially in boring meetings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a subtle way of expressing that pent-up energy. And now that we're talking about hips, we can't forget about what they call the arms akimbo pose.
Arms akimbo?
Yeah,
Oh.
the hands on the hips.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's like the ultimate power pose.
Yeah.
Like superheroes and, athletes. My mom when she's mad.
But there are nuances to this.
Really?
Yeah, subtle hand positioning changes the entire meaning. Thumbs pointing backward is a classic dominance display,
Hmm.
nonverbal back off.
Okay.
But thumbs pointing forward take on a more curious or even friendly vibe.
Wow. So it's all in the thumbs. All right, this is getting a little personal, but one of our listeners wrote in about something called genital framing.
Ah,
Is
yes.
that like what I think it is?
It is one of those subtle cues that often fly under the radar, but it can be quite revealing.
Especially in romantic contexts.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about subtly drawing attention to that area.
Okay, so like a guy standing with his thumbs hooked in his belt loops.
Exactly. It's subtle. And it's not limited to men either.
Oh. Interesting. So it's all about those subconscious signals. All right, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about a part of the body that I think gets overlooked a lot, the torso. I mean, aside from just, holding everything in, what can we learn from someone's torso?
Well, think of it as a billboard. It can broadcast all sorts of messages about our age, health, social status, even honesty.
Honesty?
Really? Yeah, yeah. And have you ever noticed how the torso is adorned in different cultures? From scarification rituals to, designer suits?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting how clothes can, really change how we see someone, right? Like a suit versus a t-shirt.
Absolutely. And speaking of clothes, one of our listeners sent in some research on how tattoos and piercings can actually impact perceptions of trustworthiness,
Oh, wow.
especially in professions like medicine or finance.
So it's like there's this unconscious bias.
Yeah, it seems so. And remember I said that the torso can even reveal clues about someone's honesty?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it comes down to shoulder movements. When someone says, I don't know, and both shoulders rise slightly, that can be a sign of more sincerity than a casual one-shoulder shrug.
Wait, so one shoulder shrug is, less honest?
It seems counterintuitive, but our limbic system can betray our true feelings even when we're trying to appear nonchalant.
Oh, interesting. So like a double shoulder shrug means they're really unsure.
Exactly. And then we've got the classic turtle effect, hunched shoulders, lowered head. That's a universal sign of insecurity.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to,
It,
disappear.
exactly. And it's the opposite of that expansive posture, shoulders back, chest open, head held high. That's more associated with confidence and honesty.
Wow. This is incredible. I mean, we've only covered from the waist down, basically, and I already feel like I'm seeing the world in a whole new light.
We've barely scratched the surface. Buckle up, because in part 2, we're going to the most expressive part of the body, the face.
All right, we're back. I'm still processing all that stuff about legs and hips and torsos. So much information. But now we're getting to the good stuff. The face.
Right. It's like the ultimate communication hub.
It is. I mean, you can tell so much just by looking at someone's face.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's amazing how many micro expressions we make without even realizing it.
Okay, so where do we start? Let's break it down.
Well, even the forehead, which most people don't really think about much, can be surprisingly revealing.
The forehead? Really?
Oh, yeah. Think about those, wrinkles and furrows that pop up when someone's stressed or worried. It's like a dead giveaway for anxiety.
Oh, yeah. You can totally tell when someone's stressed just by, looking at their forehead.
Exactly. And it's really hard to control consciously.
So it's like even if they're trying to play it cool, their forehead's going to give them away.
Pretty much. It's a real-time indicator of what's going on inside, even if they're trying to hide it.
Okay, so forehead. Check. Now let's move on to the eyes. I mean, they say the eyes are the window to the soul, right?
They do. And for good reason. The eyes are incredibly complex communicators.
So much going on there.
Yeah. For instance, you know how people always say that if someone avoids eye contact, it means they're lying.
Oh, yeah, that's classic lie detecting 101.
It turns out it's not that simple. Research actually shows that increased blinking can be a more reliable indicator of stress or discomfort.
Huh. So, they're trying to block out whatever's making them uncomfortable.
Exactly. And what about squinting? Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, sometimes.
Well, squinting can indicate that someone's trying to, get a clearer picture of something.
Literally or figuratively.
Both, actually. They might be evaluating what you're saying or trying to make sense of a situation.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's more like they're just, processing.
Right.
Okay, what about pupil dilation? I mean, everyone knows that our pupils get bigger when we see someone we're attracted to.
True. But it's not just about romantic attraction. Dilated pupils can signal interest, excitement, or even just, a cognitive challenge. On the other hand, constricted pupils can indicate fear, disgust, or even anger.
It's crazy how much information can be packed into something so tiny. Okay, let's talk eyebrows. I feel like they get overlooked a lot.
You'd be surprised. Eyebrows can be very expressive. Take the simple eyebrow raise, for example.
Like when you see someone you know.
Exactly. It's often used as a nonverbal greeting, a way of acknowledging someone and signaling openness.
It's like a silent hello. Okay, what about when someone furrows their brows, like they're pulling them together?
That usually signals concentration, confusion, or even suspicion. It's like they're trying to figure something out.
So if I see someone doing that while I'm talking, maybe I need to explain things a little better. Okay, now for the big one. Smiles.
Ah, yes. The smile. It's probably the most studied facial expression.
I mean, everyone knows a genuine smile is different from a fake one. But how can you really tell the difference?
Well, a genuine smile, or what they call a Duchenne smile, actually engages the muscles around the eyes.
So you get those like crinkly eyes?
Exactly, crow's feet. A fake smile, on the other hand, tends to be all about the mouth, with very little movement around the eyes.
So next time I'm on a date, I'll be checking for crow's feet, not just pearly whites.
Exactly, it's all in the eyes. And there's another interesting aspect to smiles, their duration. A smile that lingers for a few seconds longer than usual can actually be a sign of deception.
Whoa, really? So someone who's like holding that smile a little too long might be trying to hide something? That's wild. Okay, onto the nose. What about the whole nose touching means lying thing?
That's one of those myths that just won't go away.
Yeah, I've heard that one a lot.
While nose touching can indicate anxiety or discomfort, it's not a reliable indicator of deception on its own.
So it's not a foolproof lie detector test.
Nope. It could just mean they're feeling stressed or self-conscious. But if you notice a sudden increase in nose touching from someone who doesn't normally do that, it might be a sign that something's up.
Interesting. So it's all about looking for those changes in behavior, not just isolated gestures. Okay, what about flaring nostrils, like when someone's angry?
That's a good one. Nostril flaring is tied to our primal instincts. It happens when we're about to engage in physical activity or when we're experiencing strong emotions like anger or excitement.
It's like our body's getting ready for action.
Exactly. We take in more oxygen to prepare.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. What about the lips?
Ah, the lips. So versatile.
Right. I mean, they can express so many different emotions.
They can. And they can also be very revealing when it comes to anxiety or discomfort.
Like when someone keeps licking their lips during a presentation.
Exactly, or biting their lips or pressing them together tightly. These can all be signs that someone's trying to suppress their emotions or hold something back.
So if I'm interviewing someone and they're doing that, it could mean they're nervous.
It's possible.
Yeah.
And finally, we have the chin.
The chin. What does that tell us?
Chin touching is often associated with deep thought or concentration.
Like they're trying to make a decision.
Exactly. It's like they're physically helping their brain work through the issue.
I do that all the time.
We all do. It's a very common gesture.
Yeah.
But remember, it's important to look for clusters of behaviors, not just isolated ones. And always consider the context.
So like if someone's squinting, furrowing their brows, and their nostrils are flared, that's a pretty good sign they're not buying what I'm selling.
It's possible. It could mean they're suspicious or skeptical, but again, it depends on the situation.
Right. Context is everything. Any final thoughts on how to avoid misinterpreting facial expressions?
Well, the most important thing is to be aware of your own biases. We all have preconceived notions about what certain expressions mean, but those assumptions aren't always accurate. Be open to different interpretations and consider alternative explanations.
That makes sense. Don't jump to conclusions, basically.
Exactly. Be a curious observer. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about foreheads, eyes, eyebrows, smiles, noses, lips, chins. I feel like I could write a textbook. But how does all of this play out in the real world? Get ready, because in part 3, we're putting all this nonverbal knowledge into action. Okay, we're back for the final round. We've explored the hidden language of the body, head to toe. But now what? How do we actually use all of this in real life?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
Because knowledge is great, but it's only powerful if you know how to apply it.
Right, exactly. So let's get practical. Imagine you're in a job interview. You've done your research, you prepped your answers, but you're nervous. How do you project confidence even when you're freaking out inside?
Well, remember what we said earlier about nonverbal communication being so powerful? It often overrides our words. So even if you're feeling anxious, focus on projecting calmness through your body language. Sit up straight, make eye contact, use your hands to emphasize points, but in a controlled way.
So it's almost like you have to act confident.
Not exactly acting, but more like consciously choosing the message you want to send with your body. Think of it as aligning your inner state with your outer expression.
Okay, I like that. Align your inner and outer self. So what about a situation where you're trying to connect with someone new? Like, say you're at a networking event and you see someone you want to talk to, but they've got that classic closed-off posture. Arms crossed, not making eye contact. What do you do?
That's where reading those nonverbal cues comes in handy. Because while crossed arms might often signal defensiveness, it could also just mean that they're cold or feeling overwhelmed by the crowd.
So you shouldn't just assume they don't want to talk.
Exactly. Instead of approaching them with hesitation, try mirroring their posture slightly to create a sense of connection.
Oh, interesting. So like subtly match their energy.
Yeah, and make sure your own body language is open and inviting. A genuine smile, a slight eyebrow raise, keep your hands visible and relaxed. You're essentially inviting them to open up by modeling that openness yourself.
Okay, I can see how that would work. Now let's talk about relationships. Let's say you're noticing some distance in your partner. Maybe they're less affectionate, less engaged, always on their phone. Can nonverbal communication help you figure out what's going on?
Absolutely. Those are all classic signs that something might be off. But before you jump to conclusions, remember, nonverbal communication is just one piece of the puzzle. It's important to combine those observations with open communication. Talk to your partner, express your concerns, and really listen to their response, both verbal and nonverbal.
So don't just like accuse them of being distant.
Right. Start a conversation. And while you're talking, pay attention to their body language. Are they making eye contact? Are they leaning in or turning away? Are their facial expressions matching their words? All of these cues can give you valuable insights into how they're truly feeling.
It's like you have to become a detective.
In a way, yes. You're looking for clues. But remember, like we've said before, context is crucial. Someone's cultural background, their personality, even the specific situation, all of that can influence how we interpret those nonverbal cues.
So there's no one-size-fits-all guidebook to human behavior, huh?
I wish there were. It would make things a lot easier. But by becoming more aware of these subtle signals, we can have more meaningful interactions, avoid misunderstandings, and build stronger relationships with the people around us.
This has been amazing. Seriously, my mind is blown. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too. It's always a pleasure to dive into these topics and see how much we can uncover.
Well, listeners, I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into nonverbal communication as much as we did. And remember, keep those eyes peeled. The world is full of fascinating messages just waiting to be decoded. Until next time.